Our storyteller is Warren Epstein, arts and culture editor of the Gazette, director, actor, and stand-up comedian. Warren.
A storytelling teacher of mine once gave me the advice that you should tell the story that you don't want to tell. And so this is the story that I don't want to tell, and it's a story I haven't told. That was my brother David when I told him about my engagement to Carol Rubin. You're not going to marry Carol Rubin. Why not? I love her. Yeah. Okay. First of all, you're 7. David was 11. He was the deliverer of harsh truths in my life. The one who told me about Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and Hanukkah Harry. But David, I love her, and true love, real love, is forever. No, that's in the movies. No, you're not going to marry her, you're not going to love her, because, look, you're going to grow up, she's going to move away, things are going to get in the way, life is going to get in the way, which was rather profound for an 11-year-old. But what David didn't understand was the intensity, that first love, before you had compromises, before you had the power struggles and hidden resentments in relationships. This was, well, it was, I had never been hurt before. So I loved without knowing that love was dangerous, without knowing that every time you do it, you're stepping out on a precipice. Well, let me set the scene for you. This is Monticello, New York, in the Catskills, part of the Borscht Belt, and this was at the height of the Catskills. This is where they had all the big resort hotels. And this was in 1967, 2 years before the Summer of Love, when just 20 miles away, a few hippies and about 500,000 of their closest friends would gather in a field and have a weekend of sex, drugs, and music that would rock the world. But this was my Summer of Love. We lived in a bungalow colony. My grandfather owned it. And those of you who don't know what a bungalow colony is, it's like this collection of cottages, and we had the summer camp, and they had fields and stream where you could catch salamanders and frogs. It was heaven for kids, right? And being the son of, or the grandson of the owner, I was like royalty of sorts. And Carol was my princess, and I'd known her for years. Our parents had been friends so long that we were literally playmates in the playpen together. And by the time we were 7, we considered ourselves going steady. And what that meant was we held hands together when we walked. We would kiss when we were on the swings until our lips got numb. But mostly what we would do is, like any kid, we would run. I remember, it seems like most of my childhood was spent running. And we had games like Ring Alivio, red light, green light, red light. We had Capture the Flag, and sometimes we just ran to run. We would run and pretend that we were being tracked by lions. And we would run so long that our shadows would grow into giants and chase the lions away. And I remember Carol being so beautiful. She was just all knobby knees and golden hair and teeth like chiclets. And David, when I told him about our impending plans to get married, said, "Have you even been to bed together yet?" Well, yeah. That stopped him. Yeah, just last night. in my bed, played Monopoly. And he laughed. And it was this sly laugh that told me that there was more to that phrase that I wasn't understanding. And I knew that I wanted, whatever that was, I wanted to do it with Carol. And I knew it was something dirty and unknown, and I was determined to figure it out. So that evening, I am in her bungalow. I am in her pink bedroom refuge with all the frilly curtains and ruffled comforters and pillows everywhere. And I said, Carol, I want you to do something for me. And she said something that no girl had said before to me, nor since actually. Warren, I will do anything you want. Not that I haven't tried. So I asked her if she would take her shoes off. And she did. And I asked if she would take her socks off. And she did. And I asked her to get into the bed. And she did. And I took off my shoes and socks and I lied down next to her, but opposite her so that her feet were next to my face. And I grabbed her feet. And it smelled like walnuts and dirt and vanilla. And she grabbed my feet. And the door opened. Now, as we were lying, I would later learn that there was a numerical designation for that. I didn't understand that. What I did know was that there was an awful lot of yelling. I grabbed my shoes and my socks and I ran across the wet grass to my bungalow, and my mother was asking what was wrong, and I couldn't tell her. And shame is a funny thing. It has a way of multiplying upon itself, because I remember that years later when I found out that Carol's dad had died, that I was glad. And I feel shame about that, because he was a nice man and he always treated me well even after that incident. He treated me well, but it was like this witness to my crime was no longer around to bear witness. And David was right. The world got in the way, she moved away. We wrote to each other, but they became less frequent, and by the time we sent pictures of each other, we didn't recognize each other anymore. And you know what? David was dead wrong as well. And I'll tell you why. 24 years ago, I'm in Tampa, Florida. I'm living with this woman who's, we're living platonically, and I've convinced myself I'm not attracted to her in the least. And I come home from work one night, and I'm looking through the window, and I see her dancing by herself. It's Talking Heads burning down the house, which is not the most encouraging thing to hear your roommate playing, but she was dancing with this music cranked to the max, and she was dancing from one room to the other with this wild abandon. And I looked at her and I thought, I am going to marry this woman and I'm going to love her for the rest of my life. And that night, I gave her a foot massage. I wasn't looking into it very deeply, but we've raised 2 children. We're slowly growing old together. And the thing about it is that life tries to get in the way. And every day, we hold together this notion of this shared fairy tale that love lasts forever. Because we know that in the end, it's the only thing that does matter. Thank you.